Growing up, I was never really that great at any games or sports. When I was 4 years old, my parents decided to sign me up for soccer, and my idea of playing was sort of just standing around waiting for the game to finish, as you can see in these pictures. Soccer was not a great introduction to competitive games for me, and that trend continued on with baseball. I was really bad at it. I didn't hit a single home run in my 8-year career from ages 4 to 12. It wasn't really all my fault, though. Baseball is a horrible introduction to learning curves. See, the thing is, I never really learned baseball. I never had private lessons, and none of my coaches were great. They were just other kids' dads. How was I supposed to learn how to play well without some sort of innate talent? It seemed hopeless. I quit baseball because I hadn't even completed the learning curve. My fundamentals were weak because no one ever taught them to me in a way that stuck. Before I get into more games, let's define what a learning curve actually is. According to the Oxford Dictionary, a learning curve is the rate of a person's progress in gaining experience or new skills. Basically, how fast somebody learns a game or something like that. Now in this video, I'm going to be using a slightly modified version of the learning curve that I created, which is basically just a graph with two different axes. The x-axis is how easy it is for a beginner to pick up and enjoy the game. The y-axis is relating to skill ceilings and the durability of a game over time. In other words, how long before the game gets tiring to most people. Since getting better at a game and the amount one plays it are directly correlated, I thought these two axes would make sense. When I was 6, I was introduced to video games in the form of the Nintendo Wii. This is where I learned that I really enjoy winning. See, in baseball, even before this point, I had never really had the urge to win. I think that was because I was always just carried by my team even if we did end up winning. Mario Kart introduced me to the happiness that comes with improvement at something, and it's my first example of a good learning curve. The thing is, practically anyone can learn to play Mario Kart. It's a ridiculously simple game. And it's fun to play at pretty much whatever level you're on, too. Even as a worse player, you can still win against better players if you get lucky with items.
And then that guy activates a Mega. I hit him while he's in the Mega, and then I pull Mega in 5th, which is the best item lock ever.
As a 6-year-old kid, this was pretty refreshing to me. As opposed to baseball or soccer, winning was all my responsibility in Mario Kart, and I really liked that feeling. What's the impact of a good learning curve? More playing and more incentive to improve. The more fun you have learning and getting better at the game, the faster you improve, and the more you will play, and the cycle repeats infinitely. This is what happened with me in Mario Kart. I started playing competitively after 5 years when I was 11.
Oh, they do? Blue shell! Yes! Dude! I got a Mega as soon as you used the shock! That was awesome!
My skill had simply come from repetition and playing the game to absolute death. And when the next game in the series came out, I immediately started grinding that and learning it.
So I'm getting it the day it comes out, so I have it right now, which is pretty good stuff.
I reached top 10 in the world on 2 tracks simply because I put in so much work to improve my abilities. I think for me, my Mario Kart journey completely changed my mindset on work ethic and life in general. It was at this point that I set out into teenage life with a new goal in mind. That being that I wanted to get really good at every game I put a lot of time into. Learning curves in the new games I tried to get good at heavily impacted how good I was able to become at them. One of the most prevalent examples of this in my early teenage years was the game Super Smash Bros. Melee. I was introduced to the competitive community through a stellar documentary I saw about it on YouTube. I was so enthralled in how the game looked and how the community seemed that I actually convinced my dad to buy me a new Wii and a copy of the game so I could start playing it. Here's where the bad learning curve comes into play. Super Smash Bros. Melee is one of the most technically advanced games you could try and start playing as a beginner. Just to be able to compete on a somewhat decent level, you have to be able to perform advanced techniques like wave dashing and L canceling practically every time. Not being able to do this will severely limit your capabilities, as every competitive player does these things. This was very hard for me, as learning these things were more like work and not play. It was a tedious struggle just to perform one clean wave dash. I had no competition to play against either to try and improve, since the game had no online capabilities. My brother played against me a little bit, but I was way better than him, and he was a little too young to be good competition for me at the time. So I quit pretty soon after I started. Last year, I got back into the game and learned the advanced techniques pretty quickly. I feel like this was solely because of the newly created free-to-play online Melee servers, where you can play against other players online with basically no lag. This new competition, along with my more adaptable nature at this point in my life, caused me to actually learn the game and get pretty decent at it. With Go, the story is both similar and different to Melee. I was first introduced to the game through an amazing Japanese anime series called Hikaru no Go. The show inspired me to try and pick it up as a hobby. I discovered the game after I had started playing chess competitively, so I believed it would also be relatively easy to learn. I could not have been more wrong. Unlike Melee, Go is not hard technically. All you do is pick up black or white stones and place them on a 19 by 19 board. The difficult part is the complex strategy aspect of the game. Even though Go is similar to chess, as they are both strategy games, Go's strategy is much harder to understand as it is not very intuitive. There are also many more possibilities of Go games than chess games. For comparison, there are 10 to the 120th power possible chess games, while in Go there are 10 to the 360th power games. The resources online on YouTube for novice explanation are also much more scarce than resources to learn chess. Since YouTube was mainly how I learned to get better at chess, this basically made me quit Go right away. As you can see, my online Go server account was made in 2017, but I didn't actually start playing a lot of games until 2020, a major year of rediscovery of games for me as it seems. I have not gotten past being a pretty novice Go player in the past year or so. Osu, which is a rhythm game that I started playing in 2017, has probably the best learning curve I've ever experienced. In the regular game mode, the objective is simply to move your mouse to the circle and click it with your X or Z key.
When the approach circle closes around the head of the slider, click and hold the trigger button, and follow the slider ball.
In Osumania, the objective is just like Dance Dance Revolution, but with your fingers on the keys instead of feet on the pad. The amount of difficulty levels of songs you can play varies so widely that both beginners and gods of the game can have fun. You are always graded on your performance of a song, so the immediate feedback allows you to react accordingly. You can never run out of lives. Even if you fail a song, you can always just try it again. As a beginner, it's pretty easy to get into the groove, and as an expert, you will never run out of challenges, because new maps are being created by people every day. When you do well on a song, you get performance points, and as time goes on, and the more you accrue, your rank steadily goes up. The better you do on harder songs, the more performance points you will receive. It's a great feeling to climb the ranks, and that causes you to want to get even better and play even more. Even though my skill level in the two modes I play isn't even close to top level, it still looks impressive to a general audience. Here's two quick examples of my best plays in each mode.
You didn't seem to mind spending your time with this crazy guy whose eyes were wide open for you. For a time we had it good.
Lastly is the most recent game I tried to learn, Super Mario 64, but not just playing it, speedrunning it. Speedrunning is where you try and beat a game as quickly as possible. There are different categories in different games. Like in Mario 64, there is an 100% category where you try and collect all 20 stars in the quickest time possible. I tried to learn the 16-star category because it isn't very long to complete one run. Before this point, I'd never actually even played the game, but I learned it quite fast. Speedrunning in general is quite easy to pick up because you get direct feedback on your play after each segment of the current run. If you're ahead of your personal best, you get a green split, and if you're behind, you get a red split. You also get a gold split if the split is the fastest one you've ever completed. Since you're always racing against yourself, improvement at the beginning comes very quickly, and you often beat your personal best. When you get better, beating your personal best becomes a lot harder because your gameplay starts to have fewer and fewer mistakes. Because of this, speedrunning kind of gets less fun as you get better. I started to get frustrated after a few months because my personal best became so hard to beat. It caused me to reset my attempts earlier after smaller and smaller mistakes, causing it to be less enjoyable. After streaming the game every day for a month straight, I managed to get a sub 20-minute time, which was quite good for the amount of time I spent practicing. I think my graph was a little flawed because the majority of games get more fun the better you become at them. The real question is, which games stay fun long after you become good at them? For me personally, I enjoy games with a little bit of randomness involved, so that my experience is never quite the same. Games like Mario Kart and poker definitely fit in that category for me, and those are two of the games that I've stuck with for the longest amount of time. I think this is also why I've only played games like chess on and off for the past few years. There's not enough variation for me to have fun consistently in games that are that static. I also realize this video is not very factual at all, and it's pretty much just my opinion. Besides that, I hope you enjoyed my thoughts, and thanks for watching.